There it is. Hey,
Hey,
how's it
Crow.
going?
Good, good. I can hear you.
Nice.
Mhm.
Well, how's farming season? I guess
Um, don't ask.
because
No, what?
I
Go ahead.
realized that we took a break last year for farming season as well,
Hmm.
and
Yep.
and like you mentioned earlier, it kind of seems like we're into season two now.
Hmm.
Uh,
Season
see,
two. Season two of P and K Q and A. More notes, more structure.
maybe,
Maybe.
yeah, maybe possibly.
I don't know. We. No, I think that's the hallmark of the show. We don't have a script. We just have a few notes, and if I get stuck, I just ask you how the energy feels to you this week, and that's good for half an hour at
Well,
least.
yeah, because that
And
one question pretty much takes in everything that's going on around the world. And
yep,
I'm doing
yep.
my best to pay attention to what's going on around the world.
Oh, hey, wait. Let's start the prayer. Then we can jump right
Okay.
into it. Let's see. Yeah. Heavenly Father, I pray for the residents, council, and reeve of this rural municipality. I pray for the residents, councils, and mayors of the villages in this rural municipality. I pray for the residents, council, and mayor of the capital city of this province. I pray for the MLAs and the premier of this province. I pray for the people of this province. May we discern the truth, and may we find the courage to stand up for what is right. I pray for the MPs and the Prime Minister of Canada. I pray for the people of Canada. May we discern the truth, and may we stand up, have the courage to stand up for what is right. I pray for the Congress, Supreme Court, and President of the United States. I pray for the people of the United States. May we find the courage to stand up for what is right. I pray for the leaders, all the leaders of this world, and finally, Father, I pray for all of the people of this world. May we discern the truth, and may we have the courage to stand up for what is right. Amen.
Amen. And speaking of the Prime Minister of Canada, like anybody who's watching from another country, we have a snap election going on in Canada right now. And usually there's only one reason traditionally in Canada to call a snap election, and that is the prime minister is on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Because the last couple of times that I've lived through a snap election, that's pretty much what you were looking at. You're looking at a prime minister that was completely overwhelmed. And it's just like, you know what? I want the hell out of here. And yeah, who was it? The last prime minister of Great Britain, she did that. I mean, and she was getting so much stress that she was just like, you know what? I'm calling election and pray to God I lose. And she did. But I mean, all this election is going to show because Trudeau is no doubt, he's probably not going to get back in. But at the same time, what people don't realize is that it does not matter. It's like the swamp has its choice of two other leaders, and both of them are swamp creatures. One wears an orange jacket, and the other one wears a blue jacket. How's that for avoiding getting political?
Mm-hmm. I wasn't aware we tried to do that on this show.
It's getting bad out there, is what it
Mm.
is. and just people are just getting censored all over the place. And now the liberals and the conservatives are trying to censor each other. It's such a joke. The whole thing's a joke. That's what I mean when I say it doesn't matter who you vote for. They're both, as far as I'm concerned, they're both cowards. You know, one just has slightly more charisma than the other. And that charisma has worn off horribly over the last 5 or 6 years.
Discernment. That's increasing, isn't it? I think it's the only way. I've been through, courtesy of my ego, I've run through a ton of scenarios in my head, and every time I go a little to a little darker place with them, Michael says to me, he says 2 things: this is not a race, nor is it a first-person shooter. So as far as I'm concerned, there's only, we the only way is we have to help each other up through this. The perfect example in this this one group, let's say, that I'm in, and I think you know which one I'm talking about. They're talking about these organizations, and they're calling for, I guess, action across Canada, and they're inviting, everybody who's on every side of the mask debate, the vaccine debate. And I just said, that's incredible. I've been thinking we have to, whatever side of all these things we're on, we need to stand together and call for transparency and openness from the government about what's actually happening. I think that's the only way we can really get any kind of good long-term solution.
Yeah, and really, there's only
because we've tried everything else.
It's the only way to go forward, and there's only one leader that is talking like that, and it's the leader of the PPC party, and it's just, and nobody is listening, and they're censoring the shit out of him. They're not even, so he can't even go to the leadership debate because of the way that they structure how you qualify, which is a bit of a joke, actually. So the way to qualify to get to a leadership debate is all dependent on how you're doing in the polls. But here's the part, here's the best part. Elections Canada gets to choose which polls they're going to look at, and they take the average of those 3 polls. So PPC is polling well with this one poll company, but polling badly with another. Elections Canada will pull the bad one. And so it's not even a real metric. And what they do is they completely ignore the fact that Bernier has filled, or the PPC has filled, I think 305 of the 338 seats across Canada. That's a lot. How many? The Bloc Québécois only has seats in Quebec. How does that make any sense? They don't even represent Canada.
And then they let them run as a federal party. They have seats in Ottawa usually.
Yeah, they have seats in Ottawa.
A few, but they have.
Yeah, and it's like, what the hell is this regional party doing with a voice in Ottawa? Doesn't Saskatchewan want a voice in Ottawa? We're sure as hell not getting it with the current representation. Maybe we should have a federal Saskatchewan party. There we go. There's a novel thought. If Quebec can do it, why can't Saskatchewan do it? What, we need special status?
Federal Sask party.
Saskatchewan Federal Sask party. Oh, we need language status? No problem. We choose Cree. They already teach it in the schools here. Oh man. I mean, there's like so much that leaders could do under law if they just took the time out to put the proper people in place and put the proper people on it. I mean, I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be the best person to do it. I mean, I'm one of those people that can skim through something real quick, get a broad understanding, and be able to use that information to move forward. I mean, if I want a more detailed understanding of shit, well, I've got to sit down and actually do the work. And, well, I'm not the biggest fan of just sitting and doing paper all day.
Yeah. So it looks like two things have to happen to to beat the swamp. The people have to actually join together and get going in the thing, and the swamp has to at the same time run out of gas, I guess, because I don't know if they have to happen at the same time, but it would help if they happened concurrently, certainly.
And the thing is that you are absolutely right. And that is exactly what is going to happen. But we have no idea when that's going to happen. I mean, we see signs and it's like, oh my God, it's gotta be happening. It's like watching the Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunners. That rock is just like tipping on the precipice. And just when you think it's going to go over, it's right back onto the coyote. And we're quite possibly the coyote in that scenario, by the way. So, I mean, it's sitting there like that. And it's going to get, I mean, I am like, that is actually what when you break it all down, that is actually what I am afraid of. That it is going to be a Wile E. Coyote fucking Roadrunner scenario where the rock is just, it's gonna fall. It's gotta fall. And then all of a sudden, ding, and crushes. And I'm just like, wow. It's like, because I mean, the Alliance has put in so much planning, so much detail, and they've been doing this shit since, the Alliance got really active around 2010, but the spiritual side of the war really took off in the 90s. That's when everybody that is when the baby boomers reached a certain age where they really started thinking about their mortality. And they started they were looking for something. And they were comfortable enough that they could take the time out to look because they worked hard their whole lives because they were told by their parents, you'll work hard, you'll get what you want. But they worked hard, they got lots of good stuff, but they were still empty. And then at some point in the 90s, they tried to figure out why they felt empty. And then there was this whole exploration of minimalism that follows us all the way up till today. I mean, people are still discovering that they are more happy with the minimal, than they are with the abundance. And it's kind of a weird thing. And I guess in a funny way, we have gotten to that point in our society where minimalism is a safe place to be because there's always a 7-Eleven around the corner. There's a grocery store. There's shopping. There's malls. So you can be a minimalist but still be surrounded by abundance. And I think that's probably more of a comfort because the minimalism unclutters your mind, but you have the security of knowing that Sobeys is just up the road.
Yeah, and I think technology is helping us with that now, because on one, you get a laptop and you can do your books, you can correspond with people, you can watch movies, you can stream television. You only need one
Yeah.
device. And I mean, maybe you have an iPad and you have a tablet and a phone and stuff, but gone is from when they have late 90s, early 2000s, they had the 17-inch CRT monitor and the tower computer and the printer and the cables going everywhere, and that took up a whole room in your house.
Yeah, I mean,
now you just plunk a laptop down on your desk and fold it up. If you want to write notes, or whoever, you can fold up the laptop, put it away, then write on the same desk, same kind of thing. And just it's just so, I don't think we know yet what fully what we're being, how much minimalism yet satisfaction we've been handed over the last 5, 10, 20 years.
We've been handed a lot. I mean, to be able to,
and we're even more security. I feel as secure now, with just like with an iPad and a laptop. I can talk to my friends all around the world. I can do just about anything I need to do with just those devices, and of course the telephone.
Yeah, and it is security, and it's just getting better. And that is, and so everything is actually set up for us to go on to the path of light and life. It's just the swamp doesn't want that.
Yeah.
And they only represent 1% of the population. They just force the rest of us to go along with them because they have all the weapons. And that's the truth of it. I mean, people have to get to a point to where their life doesn't matter before they get pissed off enough to take to the streets. And that's just how it is. I mean, survival instinct. Why do you think they were able to, activate this pandemic model so easily? Is because they just built up the fear and they just preyed on it. Basically, society was ripe for, well, not quite ripe for the picking. If they had slowed down, took their time, give it another 2 or 3 years, there would be less questioning. But they put their foot on the gas for whatever reason. And I have no idea I'm still trying to figure out why they put their foot on the gas. It's like the smarter move. I mean, I know that if I was going to do such an evil work, I at least understand tactics and, the art of war, to know that I don't want my enemy to know everything that I'm doing. So there's going to be subterfuge all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I've sensed that too. They sped things up, they're panicking. And yeah, it's kind of cool actually, because we are, once a person reaches a certain level of awareness, they don't feel guilty or scared, playing devil's advocate like we're doing. It's like, yeah, no, I know how, the thing about boiling the frog, right? I'm just looking at what they're doing, and I'm like, here, they did this. If they wanted to win, they should have done this, and this, and obviously I don't want them to win, but as I'm looking at it from, like I'm looking at a chessboard. And this, and I don't, there's side blue and side red, and they're not, it's all academic at this point, or, from one level, I can look at this from an academic perspective. Of course, I have a very real investment in the outcome as well, although almost not if we believe in the survival of the soul under certain circumstances. So it's a paradox.
It is a paradox. We can
talk about paradoxes, right? It's almost like there's a couple of different realities existing here.
I'll tell you, this is probably like I fuck people's mind up by just asking one simple question. It's like, okay, so we all agree that in the end, God wins. Okay,
Hmm?
what's winning to God?
Hmm.
Our idea of winning and God's idea of winning, they could be two very, very different things. We have no idea. Maybe in the end, this planet is not worth worth nothing except dirt. Maybe in the end, God wins means 99% of the souls are saved, which means the planet dies
Hmm.
and is destroyed. And that's the end of humankind on Urantia. Will be put in the annals of an extinct species, but our souls will be going on. Urantia will never be forgotten. It'll always be remembered as that planet of evil that Michael was able to harvest 99% of the souls from. Think about that, right?
Yep.
That's winning.
Yep. Yep.
That might be Michael's point of view. That might, from Michael's standpoint, that's winning. I mean, maybe the whole planet is Sodom and Gomorrah. And we're who Job, was it Job? That, I don't know, whoever it was. Anyways, it was Abraham's brother. He was the only one to escape. Maybe that's what we'll be like, the survivors of Urantia. Hey, these are the souls that survived that evil planet. Yeah, but the planet's gone. Doesn't exist in time and space anymore. Evil destroyed it. What a fucking lesson for the universe forever.
But even if the planet is destroyed, it's still backed up to the Akashic record, right? In Star Trek: The Next Generation, they go they have the holodeck, right? So there's, it doesn't explore all the things, but I bet you there's and other more advanced races have probably there's worlds that have been destroyed, but they map them enough to they can put them in a holodeck and you can go there even though the planet no longer exists. Things like that.
And that
So
very well might be it.
If you look at reality from this plane being a shadow or a reflection or a something made from a pattern on a higher plane, it's what's real is one of the questions that deserves to be asked over and over and over again about pretty much everything.
Well, I mean, science already is pretty sure that reality is a hologram. Because when you break everything down, it's all energy. But then you look at complicated name of a scientist. Anyways, Lisa Neum. Yeah, Lisa, or Saharan. Anyways, he basically has broken the universe down to a Planck length. And what he has discovered in the Planck length is that there is infinite amount of information in a Planck length. And according to his model of the universe, which, by the way, the math makes the most sense with his model of the universe. He's actually able to break down the model of the universe using calculus, just simple calculus. Nothing fancy, just regular, everyday calculus, and that every engineer on the planet knows. And he's able to break down the universe to its smallest component. No problem. And his math works in the micro and it works in the macro. The same equations. What's
Scales.
that?
Scales from one end to the other.
It's a scale.
Scales from one end to the other. I just was reminded of a parallel expression or something. I don't know what they say about it now, but when I was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, they were talking about computers, and that the computer, you buy it today, it's obsolete, whatever. The technology changed so fast. Basically, science is like that now.
It changes.
We can't keep up. We can't keep the scientific model
Well, I
current.
think Yissaharam, I think he has nailed it, because the patterns that he comes up with his math all flow into sacred geometry. And I mean, he's figured out like the shape of the universe, our universe. And it's he figures it's sort of shaped like a soccer ball. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's if it's if you look at a sphere, but also it could be a Morpheus strip too. So who knows, right? And but more importantly is that his calculations work for black holes too, which is a really big deal. Anyways,
so so I stand corrected. Where the science is, we're actually approaching the point where would be a sort of the singularity, where things simply build. We don't reimagine it all the time. We find this thing that tends to work, and then we keep kind of refining it, like our computer technology, like a lot of things are becoming. I've noticed that interfaces now are matching, what they show in. If you watch Star Trek Discovery, they have like the same similar. It looks like you can kind of guess what their things are versus what we have today. And I know it's an envisioning of the future, but we have pictograms that have held pretty much steady for the last 10 years and will probably be about the same going forward for decades. And certain layouts of interfaces, and touch screens and this and that. So a lot of the things that will be constant going forward for probably the near to mid term, we'll actually see less changes on things.
I think in the end, that's actually where a society is supposed to end up. Ultimately, you see, this is why we have all these megalithic structures laying around on our planet, is because the fallen tried to do it front to back or back to front when it's supposed to be front to back. Anyway, it's supposed to start the start and then go to the end. They went all the way to the end first because the start was too tedious.
They put the cart before the horse.
They gave us everything that we needed to succeed, except as a species, a young species on a planet, we had no wisdom to know what to do with it except to kill each other with it. You see, every planet has to get its fill of blood before it can start onto the path of light and life. This is what evolution is for. And what was supposed to, they shortcutted all of our evolution and gave us everything. I mean, it's like, giving a fucking, 6-year-old the keys to a fucking sports car and say, there you go, son. Don't hurt yourself. Or, just handing a fucking handgun to a baby. That's basically what they did. And then they thought themselves our stewards. So they started, holding back some of the technology, because it's like, whoa, you can't do that with this. I said, the Fallen started out with the most benevolent uh,
Mhm.
intentions. They really just wanted to teach. But they want also, but Lucifer's motivation was to show Michael that he had a better way of doing it because Lucifer fancied himself a creator. And so he was like, no, I can do this better. There's no reason why these people have to go through all this war. Look at all these strong humans that have died, because of going to war. I mean, you send your best and smartest people to war and they die. So, you just lost them. But Lucifer doesn't understand the universe. He didn't understand morphogenic fields. He didn't understand God. It's like a lot of human talent that comes through that expresses itself in people. A lot of it has very little to do with heredity. It's like, heredity is basically your physical structure because you can look like your parents, your kids are going to look like you. That's all physical. But what goes on up here, that that's God's playground. Your mind, it was designed to hold an expression of God. And the mind is powerful enough that it can transform the body. And we do it anyways, whether we know it or not. Because you ever see some old people and then you see a picture of them when they were young and you look and you're just like, how is that the same person? The bone structure has changed. What happened? That the bone structure changes in people over time. And you can say, oh, cartilage never stops growing. You can say this, you say that. But I've even seen eyes change. And I've come to the conclusion that these people are morphing themselves into their own self-image as they move through time. And if they've got a poor self-image, then they will manifest into something ugly. If they've got a good self-image, then they'll manifest into something more beautiful. And I have seen that. Shit, I took care of this one old guy, and I seen a picture of him when he was a young man. No difference. He looked damn near the
Mm.
same as he did when he was 30. And I'm like, wrinkles, and bigger nose, but overall, you could recognize the person in the two pictures. And it was like, wow. And then after taking care of him for almost a year, I got to know and understand him. And he had just a very simple philosophy for life. Don't piss in other people's cornflakes. And if you do, apologize. He had a more poetic way of putting it, but that was basically what I got out of it. I was like, just don't piss people off. And he had a successful career, had three daughters, and who came and visited their father on a regular basis. I mean, shit, he was like one of the few residences that got visitors. So I was like, shit. I mean, there was the resident that lived next door to him. Oh, yeah, he got visitors from his two selfish children. And they would walk into the room and be like, Daddy, my rent is due. And then Daddy would hand over rent. And then I would have to listen to him bitch and complain about that all week. Oh, so yeah, I've got to see and listen to a lot of things, especially like when it comes to like family relationship. Working in that old age home for like a year, that was I mean, there are some fucked up families. Let's put it that way.
That was actually very valuable. I think that you did get to experience that, because you got to see, cause and effect on certain things, and maybe you got to decide, okay, maybe I should do this, and maybe it might not be a good idea to do this other thing. I don't know how old were at that time, but it
Oh
yeah, no,
shit,
it can change a
I was in
person's
my mid
life.
20s.
You got it. You got a lifetime education right
Fuck yeah.
there.
Yeah, I was in my early to mid 20s for that one. Oh yeah, that was like, and you're right, because there was another guy that his name was Happy, of all fucking names. This was the most miserable piece of fucking human shit ever. I mean, it took like, you wonder why, how abuse happens in a old age home. It was fuckers like him, because I wouldn't let Kathy near him because I was afraid Kathy would want to fucking hit him. So I always took care of him because I had the patience for it. Yeah, fuck me if that guy didn't push my fucking buttons. And I used to just look at him. It's like, are you fucking kidding, Happy? I was like, seriously, you're going to piss off the people that fucking are taking care of you? I said, you can't walk. I said, we've got to cut your food up for you. I said, we got to do everything for you, including wiping your ass. I said, and you seriously think that we are the people that you should be pissing off? He didn't understand.
I'm remembering that. I remember that one episode of The Simpsons. I guess it was Homer or Grandpa or somebody was in this care home, and he said, "My IV is empty and my urine bag is full." So they switched them.
Oh, fuck me. Oh,
Um,
yeah, yeah. And that's my view of care homes. I don't like them. It's just a place to fucking, for people to fucking eat, sleep, and shit until they die. That
but to go back to the positive thing, I was trying to say, you doing that for what, a year or so, you got to shortcut 20 years of bad decisions in your
Oh,
own life.
you're
Like,
actually, you are absolutely correct, because I would sit,
it's like, we'll just
yeah.
skip that and go straight to the personal growth and achievement here. I know what not to do now.
Oh yeah, and and of course me, I was always curious, and I was always really good at asking the good questions, and I would practically interrogate the children when they would come and visit. Oh
Mm.
yeah. What kind of person was your father when he was younger? And they just love talking. They always talk. Oh yeah, they would sit in the kitchen with me for like an hour or so and just talk, and I would just soak it all in, and then I would just be like, okay, and then I would hear what the old man is saying about the children, and I was just like, wow, these people are fucked. Yeah. Oh, they always tell you that was the thing. Okay, I worked there for a year. It was, yeah, maybe a year, 13 months. The thing that amused me the most is that I would have that initial conversation with the kids, and they would say such beautiful things about their parents. They'd be like, oh, yeah, that was great. And then over time, they would get comfortable with you, and then all the shit would just come out. And you'd just be like, wow. And since I've actually got a memory for certain things, I would remember the conversation that we had. Not verbatim, but I would know the gist of the conversation. I never remember any conversation verbatim. I just know what people are saying to me, and then I just crunch it all down and say, okay, that's what they said. Oh yeah, there was a paragraph on either side of my little sentence, but that is what I got out of their 2 paragraphs. And that's all I need. If anything else comes up, I've got a phone.
So, yeah, do you have more on that, or I was going to actually circle back to something about the fall and what struck me about, the more I learn about that and how they were unbelievably childish,
Naive.
childlike. I've said naive. I've said that what came before is the operating system. We are the apps. And then I was going to ask, is there a patch written like to upgrade, so this doesn't happen? I think you mentioned something like that, Michael. Michael basically wrote an update. And if I can go off on another tangent, when I took Reiki course, Reiki 1 and 2, and I forget now if it was for the 1 or the 2, but they said there was this, they basically called it an update, and they had documentation about it. This is an energy healing art. Okay, I mean, you know what it is, Crow, but the people who are listening might know. Reiki, it's an energy healing art kind of thing, like you've maybe seen in movies or something. But anyway, long story short, they said there's this update in how the thing is done, and it's easier on the practitioner, and it's this and that, and I said to the instructor, okay, I'm going to check when Steve Jobs died again, because this reads exactly like an Apple software update guide. And I kid you not, I was this thing that they had written as an addendum to an energy healing art that people can take and learn to do. It read like an update to a piece of Apple software, like the description of it that you get when you go on the, say iOS 12.9.6, it does this, does that, makes this run smoother, makes this better, does
people
blah,
aren't
blah, blah,
paying
blah.
attention. If you don't think that we're moving into and through a energy field in the universe, think again. The whole galaxy is going through it. And I mean, what you just explained is the proof of that. That because we're getting updates from the universe via this energy and this flow that's coming through. And then this is just going to keep continuing and continuing. And I think that this is part of why they've put their foot on the accelerator. Because, I mean, it's still lingering out there, the solar flash that's coming. Nobody knows when. We just know that it's got to happen. Sooner or later, it's got to happen. Just like fucking Mount Etna, sooner or later, it's going to fucking happen. Don't build your house at the base of it. And, so it's, nobody knows, but they think they know. They think they know. And I'm just wondering, it's like, what fucking surprises are in store for these people? Because I am fairly certain they expected Afghanistan to go far smoother than what it has. I mean, these people can't be that fucking stupid. It's either that or they're just purposely evil, trying to stir shit. So, I mean, there's lots of options on the table. I have no idea which one it is. All I know is that all the players involved are all looking like idiots. And soldiers, they're like, they're looking for like reasons to get themselves kicked out of the army. They want to default on their contract because they're disgusted with the leadership, completely disgusted. And I'm just like, wow, that's bad.
And here, I thought they went back to putting Afghanistan in the news because people weren't scared enough of COVID anymore.
That
I thought it was that. I mean, I
I'm pretty
don't know.
sure
So
it's
they could milk COVID until our discernment goes high enough that nobody cares about it anymore. But
Afghanistan was
yeah, no,
inevitable. The way that it was handled,
yeah,
it
yeah.
was inevitable. This is why a part of me thinks they did it on purpose. But it's like because it's just more chaos. But the thing is what the swamp doesn't understand is that Michael seems to kind of enjoy chaos. It's like he doesn't seem to have a problem with it. Probably unlike other creator sons who probably have an aversion towards chaos. I think Michael embraces it.
He knows it makes us grow like almost nothing else does.
Yeah, I think
I don't know if that's the only reason, but maybe one
I
reason.
mean
He knows how to deal with it. Uh, if I could say one thing about Michael, and I don't know about any of the other creators of any of the other universes, but it seems to be reading between the lines of what they say about him in the Urantia book. I don't think it's all just blind admiration. I think he did several things that had been done either rarely or possibly not at all before.
you mean when
He's this maverick genius by
yeah,
my
you mean he might have done some things in Havana while he was in Havana before coming and creating his own universe.
yeah, I don't know. Somehow he's got a unique
Mm.
background, a unique attitude. What he did as his career of the creator son of this universe, I wouldn't put money on it, but it's like I wonder if he did some stuff that like hasn't been seen
Mm.
in this realm before.
I am very certain he is doing stuff that has not been done before. And what makes me certain of that is that the Urantia book in detail explains that Michael set himself so far apart from his brothers. So as what he is doing does not interfere with their universes. I think that I think he had a concern and got permission from the father. He's like, just let me put my universe way over here, away from my brothers. And if shit goes sideways, no harm, no foul on the rest of the universes. But Michael didn't create this universe to fail. I don't think he visited Urantia purposely to fail. I don't think that he picked this planet randomly. He had other planets that he could have went to. Planets like that would have benefited far greater. They would have reaped more fruits from his teaching than Urantia has. Far, far more fruits. I mean, they would have those fruits would have blossomed into something magnificent in the universe. But he chose Urantia. I mean, obviously it was the shittiest choice. I mean, when you look at the other choices that he had, it's like you pick the rotten fruit. Buddy, I mean, I'm sure even his compatriots were probably like, they still eat people on that planet, don't you? You know that, right? They're still eating each other. It's like, father fragments are coming back and they're talking about being boiled in fucking, salt water. It's like, these people are still fucked. And you want to go there? I mean, over here, we got a planet. It's got an Adam and Eve. They're loyal. They did their job. This planet is great. It's like, why not this one? It's like they could use your help. These people, they're fucked. It's like you can't tell me that conversation didn't happen. I mean, it might have only lasted a split second, but what? Nobody fucking sees the fucking shitstorm on the horizon. I mean, not all of these creatures have the mentality of 12-year-olds, but I am fairly certain that Lucifer did. Because whenever I look at his story, it's very Peter Panish, very Wonderland, very fanciful, not steeped in the reality that he should have, in his position, had a better understanding of. But for some odd reason, he did not, for whatever reason. Or he just got it in his head that, he didn't believe it. Because, I mean, reality should have taught him something very, very different. It's like, what? You didn't talk to other Lendidacs that were ruling their systems? I mean, you didn't have long conversations about how they progressed up through and how they evolved their system until it became sovereign, and now they are the sovereign leader of that system. They're like little creators inside Michael's universe. It's like, what, you didn't pay attention? It's like, buddy, you could have had, I mean, it was, what is it, like 1,000 galaxies in one system? Yeah. It's like, buddy, you could have ruled over 1,000 galaxies easily. And out of those 1,000 galaxies, 10 of them were set aside for the Father. Or is it 100? Might be 100. I think it's 10%. Anyways, but yeah, there's always a certain amount of planets in Michael's universe that are set aside for the Father. These are planets where the creature fuses with its thought adjuster. On other planets that are not Father dedicated, these creatures are mostly spirit fused. There are some of them do, I don't know, possibly they can, some of them can fuse with the thought adjuster, but for the most part they are spirit fused. And the spirit fuse remain in Michael's galaxy. And that's why the galaxy has, that's why you want a big galaxy. That's why you want 100,000 galaxies or 100 million galaxies. It's like, let there be variety. And yeah, so so those are the two types. And then the thought adjuster beings, they leave Michael's universe, and they take the path to paradise, to the Father. And then they become thinilators, and then you become like the Father, and you become children, like true children of the Father, almost equals, even as thinilators, in the very least equal to the eternal Son. And yeah, and they go back and they work in all the universes, in all the the grand universes, and nobody knows what their future is. Only God, the Father, knows their future. I suspect, as do the beings that wrote the Urantia book, and I agree. I agree with them. Is that there's the plans probably have something to do with what they describe as outer space. which is
Mm-hmm.
outside of this third shell, we'll say, where all the grand universes reside. So it'd be another layer outside that. That is what I mean when I say that this is like, once this layer is solidified in light and life, this will be a protection for God, so that sin and evil will never be able to penetrate to the realm of God. Everything is perfect. And then after that, more can be done in the outer space regions.
Mm-hmm.
And there could be more experimentation into evil and sin and what have you. And to
That's one of the parts, the part of the Urantia book that really blew my mind. Or one of the parts, there was a whole bunch of stuff in there that was like, I was like, wow. Oh, so when it talks about the outer space levels, there's, I think, 3 or 5 expansions possible beyond. There's like 7 super universes here. There'd be like 20 in the first level, 100 in the next level, and 500 in the, I'm just pulling the numbers out of thin air. There's a mathematical progression. I don't remember what it is, but this universe, being as old as it is still just slightly older than an embryo, basically.
yeah, still very young.
We're just getting
Yeah.
started. We're just getting started here. So
Michael,
that blew my mind when I really thought about it.
I mean, when you piece together everything that the Urantia book tells us and put it together with what we know today in the 21st century, because people remember the Urantia book was written before 1950.
Yeah.
So, it was before anybody thought about any of this stuff. And
yeah, 1935 is approximately when it was delivered to this planet. Its publication date, original copyright, is what, 1955.
okay, yes.
Which is, for various reasons, they waited from 35 until 55 to publish it. But even then, it was the time between, what's happened in science between then and now is literally a quantum leap. In fact, they say in there, I was listening to one of the papers the other day, we can foresee scientific advances which you will develop even in your very near future, but we cannot. They basically couldn't turn they were forbidden to turn the book into a crystal ball, and with good reason.
Yeah, I mean, they seen the internet coming. They seen computers. They seen where we were heading by that time, because at that time, like, we were getting into like automated machines, and people were getting good at them. I mean, look at the machine they built to decipher the Enigma code. I mean, it was just like, it was a crazy machine. I mean, I didn't, like, I'm no scholar, but I mean, I watched the movie, and and I understand that it is, dramatized, but they stay pretty true. And what they were doing, I mean, I understood what they were trying to do, and it's just like, all that math is being done by hand. That's all I kept thinking. It's like, regardless of whether they got the machine accurate or what have you, it still allowed my mind to go back to that time in the morphogenic field. Basically, I like movies like that. It's kind of a catalyst to be able to travel in the morphogenic fields. And so I can travel back to that time, and then that's when I can look over the scientist's shoulder and I can see that he's working all this shit out by hand.
Yeah, before the 50s, the highest piece of technological, the slide rule was basically the pinnacle of calculation automation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you had certain shortcuts in higher math and stuff, but you did it on a chalkboard, you did it on paper. You had your slide rule. That was it. Then World War II, and I don't remember when they really started having practical computers. If it was during World War II, maybe a little before. I don't think so. They had mechanical ones back in the 1890s and stuff, but I don't know if they were much more than novelties.
The first practical, as far as I am concerned, maybe the history books might say something different, but the first practical application I know of for computers in public society was when IBM began to began to put together a network for airline reservations.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the most amazing thing and the greatest leap in technology that I could see in the 20th century. It's what pushed everything else forward, because what that did
Mm-hmm.
is that linked all the airports. That was the goal. So that's what IBM did. They linked all the airports,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next layer was linking all the reservation agents so that they would have a database that they could come into and rely on. And this could be done at various levels by the phone or through a computer device on your desk. And then that would end up making it to the consumer. And then eventually that ended up linking to the banks. And then that brought the banks in. And once the banks were in, that was it. Computers were here to stay. Because once that happened, the banks just wanted faster ways to communicate. I mean, they seen what IBM had done to the airline industry, and they were like, we want that, but we want it faster. And IBM went to work along with other companies. And then boom, next thing you know, the banks are like back and forth. And then we start getting into neat little things. This is where the clever people come in. There's always a way around shit. This is why I say any one good idea you come up with, there's 1,000 ways to fuck it. And these clever guys, they found out a way, because the banks began using these lines of communication that were put together for doing transfers and stuff. They began to use them for stock trades so that they can get out ahead. And what some clever guys did is that they started tapping into these communications, and they just listened, and they would just pick up the traffic. And next thing you know, they're buying and selling at the same time as the banks, and they're making a killing. How long do you think it took the banks to figure out what they were doing? And then we end up with more cryptography. Oh, yeah, it just spurned this whole industry. And then, of course, manufacturers got on board and they want to sell. So, hey, best way to sell is let's get people. It's like as soon as their money ends up in the bank, there's no point in going to the bank. Let's make it so that they can get that money out with a piece of plastic. And then we get credit cards. And then from there, we go into bank cards, and now we just tap our phones. All of this just so that they can get more of our money. Actually, Buddy was telling me this morning, he was saying something about a live birth, and that you can claim your sovereignty through the Postmaster General. I was like, oh, and he's like, yeah. And there is a hoard of wealth being held in your name. And if you claim your live birth status, you can claim that hoard. It's yours, backed with assets. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. He says, I'm going for it. Oh, like, let me know how you make out. He said, I might be right behind you. Holy shit, really? And,
Hmm.
you know, and so he's talking about like stuff like that. And
Hmm.
then there's this chick on Telegram who claims that she's the Queen of Canada.
Hmm.
And people are taking her seriously. And I'm just like, wow. And apparently she has credentials to prove it. And I was like, and you're still alive. How? So, I mean, unless the rumors are true and the swamp and the cabal does not have the ability to attack, they don't have they're not in a good position to do such an attack.
Wouldn't that be the just the final injustice to them? But I'm going to jump into my universe that I created in my fiction story, and it has the main character, this rich and powerful good guy, kind of a Tony Stark, Batman kind of. He creates a race of quantum androids. Spoiler alert: they are not just machines, but celestial beings that volunteered to go. He doesn't find this out until near the end of the story, but they're basically morality, and they can't be harmed, they can't be bought, they can't be threatened, they can't be corrupted. And one of the things they like to do is find people who are trying to do bad stuff and just mess the heck with them. Like some guy will steal $100 bill from somebody and then take his girlfriend out to dinner, and when he doesn't know, they'll through quantum means they'll teleport this $100 bill back to the guy who owns it, and then just when the bad guy is ready to pay, he gives the waiter this and says, "Oh, keep the change," and the waiter says, "What?" It's like a 10 or something. His $100 bill he stole is gone. Or if somebody's trying to do military action, they'll just shut down their weapons. They can't fire, even just whatever would tick them off maximum.
Yes, yeah. And the thing is that there's actually true stories like that that has happened in the 60s, 50s, and 60s, where the United States and the Soviet Union, neither one is innocent in this, both pushed buttons to launch nuclear missiles, and the bay doors wouldn't open. They were stuck, like they were welded. They couldn't even budge them mechanically. And they were shitting their pants. Like really shitting their pants, because these things were going to launch. The boosters are still firing up. It's going through its pre-launch condition, because these things are designed to go through this whole pre-launch while the doors are closed, and the doors open at the last second. And then they fire out. So all this pre-launch is going on, and they realize that, holy shit, we are like 10 seconds. Those doors should already be open. They should be going through their opening sequence, and they have not started. Yeah, you know what these guys did? They ran into the silo and they started ripping hoses and everything they could to shut down the engine. Like they tore the engines apart. Like they were terrified. They didn't care if fucking the engines blew up. They were scared of a nuclear fucking, bomb. And they just tore the shit apart. I mean, the rocket.
They improvise an emergency abort procedure
because nothing was working.
They didn't. I don't know if they hadn't thought of
nothing.
that. They probably
they tried
stuff that they could shut them down at certain at certain stages, you know, it's like, oh, you have until here. If you want to change your mind, okay, hit this button. Oh wait, if it's within a couple minutes of launch, maybe you're committed. Like, oh wait, no, we're not. Well, we're not committed. We're about to die because this malfunction's happening. So yeah, improvise. Second fail-safe abort procedure.
You would actually, this is where you would think that your quantum androids were getting a good laugh out of it, because yes, they did try the abort buttons. According to the story, the abort buttons did not work. That's the reason why they started tearing the engines apart. Yeah. So yeah, not only the doors, but the button. So yeah, you want to fuck with some soldiers? Do that to them. Yeah. And that's exactly what they did. And the spaceships were like right over the field, and there wasn't a damn thing they could do about it. And like, they knew that it was the spaceships or these ships that did it. They ship, creature, being, who the hell knows? All they described was a glowing orb. So was it a ship? Or was it a creature? Take your choice. I mean, we have no idea in God's creation what God designed. The creature looks like a jelly bean. Maybe it matters what's going on the inside. Mm-hmm. You know, Navy got
floating telekinetic jelly bean.
Yeah.
Floating telekinetic. Yeah, that's.
I mean,
there was.
Yeah.
What from one of the you remember Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home, the alien probe and the whales and stuff, that it came from another planet and was gonna destroy the Earth because we'd killed all the whales in the 23rd century. And I read the book about that, and I guess in the book, Kirk and the Enterprise encountered this probe later on, and it came from a planet that was cetacean, whales, dolphins, something like that, had risen to be the dominant life form, and they don't have hands or anything, so they developed built all their technology with telekinesis.
And the thing is that I have no doubt that such a thing is possible, because we've got a ton of stories in our own history that talk about this. And there is shit on videotape which shows this stuff actually happening. It's subjective, I guess. You can believe it or not believe it, but there's tons of footage, especially in Russia. The Russians, they did tons and tons of research into all of this paranormal stuff. Tons of it. And yeah, they've got stories, files, video after video showing telekinesis as a real thing that certain people can do. Yeah, how it works, they really don't have a clue. So they just, the books have been written and the files have been closed. There's not much that they do with it nowadays, but who knows what the hell goes on in black government programs. They could have a team of X-Men for all we fucking know, really. I mean, Wolverine could really be a thing. How would you know? I mean, unless the fucking shit hits the street, you would never know these people existed. Because, if they operate in other countries, But in today's technology, you would think, if something like that did exist, somebody somewhere got it on videotape. They don't control all of the internet. They wish they could, but that's what Elon Musk is for. One internet on one group of satellites? Are you kidding? No. I would rather have multiple options. That's how you keep a society free. You can't have one person controlling the infrastructure, because then you have one person that will dictate to the rest of us what things are going to cost. And people can make benevolent promises, and hell, they might even do them in their lifetime. But what happens after they're dead? And then, people who can't be trusted gain control of these institutions. And they start raising prices, or maybe even start censoring people, start doing all kinds of silly shenanigans. Who's going to stop them? If they control that single piece of infrastructure, then nobody's going to stop them. What? Consumers going to stop buying from them? That's like telling the city to, that you're not buying their water anymore. What? You're not going to flush your toilet? You basically have to design a whole new house. And I'll guarantee you're not going to be able to do that inside the city limits. So you're stuck buying their water and their gas and their electricity. There you are. And now imagine that in other parts. No. You need a society where all of this is multiple, where you got multiple companies selling you, even the same product. I mean, yeah. Can you imagine cell phone prices if we only had one carrier in the whole country? Yeah, I mean, it's
it's bad enough with multiple ones we have now.
Yeah. So I mean, at least with competition, it forces them to stay reasonable, because people have options. We can, we have a control over society with our money. And and people are so stupid, they haven't even realized that we actually have absolute control over government. But they think government has control over us. But the problem is that government doesn't have control over the people. Government has control over the individual. Understand the difference. The government a police officer can enforce his rule on you when there's only you. But if there's 100 of you, that police officer is going to be like, yeah, I don't think so. He's going to fucking go home. That is what I mean. Government can only control the individual. They cannot control the people. And that's where people are stupid, because people won't come together long enough to try to do something. Even as simple as what Chris Sky is trying to do in British Columbia. September 1st. Everybody just call in sick. Provincial sick day. Call in. Yeah, I'm not coming into work today. I don't like your draconian measures. Fuck you. You know what that would do to government, to industry, to everything? It would take months, and they would get the message loud and clear. Don't fuck with us, or we're just not going to come to work. And if we don't come to work, guess what? Your factories don't run. Your gas doesn't. The gas doesn't get pumped. Trucks don't move. Nothing gets delivered. Done. It's just done. I mean, people don't understand. Like, it's nothing. Everything works only because of us, not because of government. It only works because we make it work. I've read in history about governments falling overnight, just like completely gone. Nobody's in charge. You know why the country didn't fall apart? Because there were good people working in civil servant jobs who had keys to the building. And they showed up because they knew, they understood that, holy shit, if I'm not there, people are liable to panic. So they show up. The doctors, the nurses, the social workers, everybody, they all showed up. And guess what? The country ran for like a fucking like 2 or 3 months with no government. Nobody was in charge. Just the people that were in their positions, they just kept on doing their job. But there were no major decisions made. Everything was just like status quo. We're just going to just keep doing this. And they had no choice, and, money was getting moved around because guess what? It wasn't some fucking president sitting in an office that was stamping checks for everybody all day. No, it was some civil servant somewhere that was typing them up on a typewriter. And guess what? She came into work and she typed up everybody's checks. And guess what? The banks, they're not going to say no because that's a check that they can cash and get money from the government. And there's still people working in the government that will cash those checks. And so money's moving. Taxes are still being collected. Well, you think the president did all that work? All of his little minions that stood around, they didn't do any of that work. If anything, they were hindering that work. If anything, the civil servants of this Eastern European country proved to the world that government is useless, is pointless when people know what they have to do. So, this worry that government's going to fall apart, yeah, it won't, because there's enough good people working in government jobs that we just keep coming to work, making sure that the country stays running. And there'll be a few that are cowards and they'll hide under their bed. But in the way things are looking on this planet right now, there seems to be more cowards than there are fucking brave people. Holy shit. I mean, I can't believe how many people stood in a lineup in the cold for something that you were just taking somebody's word was going to help you. Literally, somebody's word. There was no data to back it up, really. Just the research data that got them to where they were, but no actual trial. And it's just like, you're just taking these people's word for it. That's the most amazing thing to this whole messed up situation that is blowing my mind. We're just expected to take somebody else's word for it. I mean, I'm sorry, but I mean, I love my parents, but I don't believe everything that they say.
And did you hear the Pfizer COVID vaccine got FDA approval last week? How many people have taken that thing voluntarily, both doses?
But here's the thing. Oh my God, I love it.
And they're still,
I love it because, yeah, it was plastered all over the place.
And then they blame the unvaccinated for spreading COVID. But go on.
Well, here's the fun part about the FDA approval. It wasn't the vaccine that they approved. It was another type of vaccine. Similar, but not the same thing. Used for a completely different purpose. It's like, oh my God, people. Oh my God. And now you want to run on that narrative. It's like, I don't care if they approve it or not. It still doesn't change the fact that there has been no long-term studies done on it. It doesn't, that hasn't changed. Just because you approve something, I'm supposed to forget that you skipped past trials? It's just like, no, I'm sorry, but I mean, I can't forget that. I also can't forget what's going on in Israel right now. Everybody's got the third, there's a lot, all the people that have gotten the third dose. Yeah. A good chunk of them died. Just straight up. They just died. Oh, and then this video, love this video that came out of India. All of these soldiers getting vaccinated. And they're like, fucking, they didn't even get 10 steps from the door and they collapsed. And you got to see the video of everybody running around. Fucking, I've seen at least 3 soldiers getting CPR. because they just collapse. It's like, whoa, is that supposed to happen? But now then I'm told, oh, well, shit happens. Seriously? I remember a time when a vaccine killed 35 people. It got pulled. Just 35 people. And it got pulled. Just like that. This vaccine has already killed 250,000 people. And they're still pushing it down our throats. It's like, are you kidding me? Oh, and by the way, Japan has paused their vaccine program because they found metal in the vaccine. Fuck me. Oh, another conspiracy theory just stopped being a theory. I was like, damn it. It's like it's no longer a theory anymore. There it is. And then, and nobody wants to talk about alternatives to just alternatives, just straight up things that South America is doing. They're curing people using drugs that they develop, simple drugs that cost like 25 cents to make. And go take a look at that scenario. And these are the things that you're not allowed to talk about on YouTube, because I don't want to get Peter's channel censored. So that's why I'm just like, don't even bother saying it. But if you're like, you just go do some research. That's all I ask. Just do some research. It's out there. All the information. It's there for you to read. So yeah.
So what's happening with the Schumann resonance? What's that looking like? Let's see. Where is this here on my? Here we go. Let's see what we got. We got. Let's see here. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay. So here we've got starting. Okay, recent. Yeah, this is the most recent right here. This is. It'll be backwards to you, but there we go. This is the next one. I like this one. Peaks and valleys. Oh, look at the top two frequencies they have those peaks in them, and then the bottom two are pretty flat, and then they all kind of synchronize. Oh, there's a few peaks in the bottom two, but they all have that, they synchronize right there for that set. And then whoops, these are going all over.
Yeah, but
and then what do we got here? Oh, look at this.
Even though it's all over the place, it's still synchronized. Yeah.
Yes.
Everything everything is coming into it's all coming into synchronization. And actually, I think this is more of our map of what to look at and to read, because it's telling us what's going on, what's really going on in the etherical realm. And I think that a certain amount of synchronization has got to happen. Everything has to come together, and it's slowly coming together. Slowly. It's a long plan, and I don't think that it's going to be very much longer for things to really start going out of control. But again, I don't think we're at the precipice yet. I think the next thing that's going to happen, you're going to love this. Old Joe is going to step down for health reasons, and Kamala is going to step in as president. I think we all seen this coming anyways. And it's already started in the mainstream media that they're already priming the public for this to happen. and it's all just going just like clockwork. These people are essentially painting by numbers. It's like I think you start to see it after a while. It's just like, oh, okay, this is their playbook. This is what they're going to do. And you're just like, oh dear God. And yeah, and I just wonder, are the people really going to swallow this shit? I mean, that's really all I end up doing is just sitting and wondering, are people going to swallow this shit and believe it? Probably.
You know what? You know what's happening. You know what's happening. They're doing the boiling the frog thing, but they're doing it. Michael's people are in control, and they're doing it on the swamp. They're doing like a reverse
Yeah.
psyop. They're making them think that they're making them think they've got everything going. They don't care. For some reason, they've got the swamp thinking they don't care how much the people know. They'll still somehow be able to accomplish their plan. And then at the critical moment, like I said with that story with my aunt, is going to jerk the rug out from under them, and it'll just be funny more
It'll
than
be
anything
sad
when
and
that
funny, but
happens.
the thing is, I think Michael has clouded their minds. I really believe that they think that they're really doing the will of the people. They really believe it. They really believe the people are on their
Because at
side.
this
It's
point,
like they,
at this point, it's like super outrageous to say, but at this point, I could do the swamp's job
yeah,
better than they
I
are.
I think a 12-year-old could. Okay, well, look at what's going on with Trudeau crisscrossing the country right now. Have you seen what has happened in BC? Everywhere he's went so far, he gets booed hardcore. It's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
um, okay, he stops in a small community. Okay, probably thought he was safe. There was like, RCMP, military style people. So a few people knew he was in town, and supporters knew he was in town. Let's put it that way. And they were all gathered there together, rah, 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 so he had his cheerleading squad. So he thinks everything is great. Canadians love him. People were out walking their dogs, jogging. They started asking questions. What's this? Crime scene? Oh, no, no, no. Prime Minister's visiting. Or I think they actually said VIP. People began to piece it together just by going on Twitter and reading Justin Trudeau's tweets. And they realized that he was in town. Well, next thing you know, all the town folks comes out to seize. And when my Trudeau came out of that building, boo, boo. And some people even followed and asked questions. And Rebel News was there, by the way. I think partly Rebel News was responsible for letting everybody know where Trudeau was. Good for them. I mean, people should know where their leaders are, right? I mean, I said straight up. If a leader is if a leader is scared of scared of his people, that he needs this overwhelming security, you're probably not a very good leader. I mean, usually only tyrants need security. Good leaders don't need security. Good leaders have a few bodyguards. You don't need security if you're a good leader. Seriously. I mean, you have bodyguards. Yeah, there's a difference. This guy, just this little visit in this small town with the small amount of supporters, he had his own security force, his bodyguards with him. Should have been sufficient enough, just a small venue. No, he had RCMP, uniformed RCMP. I know that most of his bodyguard detail is RCMP, but usually they're not uniform. This time he had uniformed RCMP officers. What the fuck, buddy? You're in a town, small town. Then there was military. There was a couple of military, well, at least people wearing military garb. And then various other spotters around the crowd to make sure that, people didn't disturb Trudeau. Make sure that he didn't get a glimpse of reality, I guess. It was reminiscent of how communist dictators do their propaganda in their countries. They go visit a small town, small group of supporters. The films, the cameras are rolling. You show the people, oh, look and see how well he's loved. Meanwhile, you're sitting in your living room. It's like, am I the only fucktard in this country that sees that this guy's a fucking asshole? If it wasn't for social media, you would believe that. The greatest weapon they have against us is making us believe we are alone. But yeah, and yeah, so people showed up, and not just a few. Like a lot of people showed up. And you kind of wondered, it's like, this town isn't that big. Is everybody in this town pissed off? Must be. And this has been a consistent theme everywhere he's gone so far. And he can't not be on the campaign trail. So he's kind of fucked. But personally, I think he's trying to throw this election. But he's got to give the supporters something, because if he doesn't, then they'd be disillusioned, and it would destroy the Liberal Party. So he can't destroy the Liberal Party, even though he does want to lose.
So my next question is, can he just yeah, no, he could voluntarily resign, I suppose. With that, yeah, that would destroy the Liberal Party. He could say, Mr. Singh, you're the next Prime Minister. I it's like I stepped down. That would destroy the. So it's they have to maintain this, and it's silly and just a little sad. What's because,
well, I mean, it's just a political game is all it is. And yeah, and I think they seriously want to see O'Toole installed. I mean, O'Toole, as far as I'm concerned, is already bought and paid for. The guy's got a fucking sketchy history. I mean, I
see the Conservative.
I mean, I can let a lot of things slide because, I mean, I've done shitty things in my life too. But then there's things that this guy has done, and I'm just like, whoa, wait a second. Even I wouldn't do something that slimy. So it's like, wow. It's like, you actually did that. Like, there were things that he did to get the leadership of the party that makes me question his character. There was a lot of tattletaling and a lot of underhanded letters written for him to secure that leadership nomination. So it wasn't because the membership chose him. It was because he manipulated the system to get what he wanted. It's like, okay, buddy. It's like, you know what? I believe in manipulating the system as much as the next guy. But that is like beyond fucking greasy. That's just bad. It's like, you don't fucking use the system like that. I mean, the membership is supposed to have a choice, and to take that choice away from the membership, that's just greasy. There's no two ways about it. It's just greasy. And how can you vote for a greasy leader? It's like, it's disgusting. That slime runs back on you. It's because some party you agrees with what he did to get that leadership position. And if some party you agrees with that, well, isn't that karma? I think, I think in the future, people are going to find that the decisions they make like that, like even for who they vote for, that person's actions is going to affect their karma significantly. It hasn't in the past, but I think, well, it has to a certain extent. Every leader's Bad actions is a reflection on the country that they are supposed to lead. And I think that karma is going to start being more focused to the individual. In some respects, I kind of already see it. That the people that you choose to follow, you take on a portion, a burden of their karma. I think in the future, people will, once they understand that, they'll be more careful in who they choose as leaders. I think that will become a consideration. It should be a consideration now. But the thing is that we have a time delay. We usually don't find out that our leaders are sons of bitches until at least 12 months into their term. And then we find out. Sometimes even they're good enough. Sometimes we don't even find out until 12 months into their second term. Then we find out that, holy shit, this guy really is an asshole. I mean, I thought he was a little bit of an asshole at the end of his first term, but he is a real asshole in his second term. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, wow, this guy should never have been elected leader of Canada. I can say I didn't.
That's one of the things the internet will help with, right? That's already doing it. We can see, it'll even get better in the future, that and discernment and so on. I think there's got to be some kind of a thing that will help us figure out who we should actually vote for.
I think that more transparency
because of the issues you described, there's got to be a way to your transparency. Yeah,
there is a way forward for transparency, but it would require putting the hands into the internet of the putting the internet in the hands of the people, and let the people regulate the internet. And the internet has its own separate judicial system, is what the internet needs. Taking internet complaints into a regular courtroom, the poor judge, he hasn't got two fucking clues. I mean, the guy can barely use Windows, for fuck's sakes. And now you want to throw down, how algorithms work and how Twitter uses their algorithms. It's like this poor bastard's just sitting out there, and it's just give me some law, please. What law have you broken? It's like the poor bastard has no idea.
You need to have computer nerds to work in cyber court.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because then, they can become judges themselves, internet judges. And
like a website, like a web forum admin on a maybe bigger scale. Or they have a network. I don't know how exactly it would work, but I'm guessing it would be similar to how a good admin works on a message board. They can, I've seen them act. I've seen, agreed with some of their, didn't agree with some of their decisions, but I understood why they did it. All that sort of thing.
They're judges.
They're
judging, and they're judging content, but they're judging content based on what the expectations of that particular platform is. And imagine if there was an actual judicial system like admins that what they judged had teeth. It's like, okay, you can be banned from this site and you cannot go in there anymore, and if you do, then you're going to be fined. And if you don't pay this fine within a certain number of days, then you may end up losing internet privileges altogether. And you might be only allowed to be on the dark web. That'd be the only place that you can go. Well, And if you poke your head up on the regular web, you might get a knock on your door, and a couple of police officers are now arresting you. Real world consequences to your actions, right? And you imagine how much more quickly these things would get resolved with an internet justice system, with a constitution that will guide their decision. It's like the platforms can put whatever the hell they want for their bullshit. It's like, no, we have an internet constitution. And this is how we judge platforms and what you are doing. And we will state that this platform has an algorithm that violates the Constitution. You can go on that platform if you like, but it violates the internet constitution. But this platform over here does not. Well, now, people, again, I'm all about choices. Again, people have a choice. You can go to the platform that will censor you, or you can go to the platform that won't. Your choice. Just like right now, there's Twitter and there's Getter. It's your choice. One's going to censor you and the other one's not. Although I must admit, Twitter is more user friendly, although Getter is nice. It's way nicer than Parler. Oh, Parler was like just, oh my God. But at least Getter is in a position to evolve. And that's what the plan is. And I'm like, okay, I will follow along and watch it evolve. There's certain things I don't like. I mean, they don't have a share. They don't have a, they don't show you like you don't get notifications on your content. So I could put out a fuck, I want to say tweet, fuck, but
Post.
a post. I want to put out a post.
Put out a post.
And I don't know what traction I've gotten on that post. I don't know what my likes are. I don't know who, how many retweets I've gotten. I don't know how many people have seen it. I know shit. I put it on Getter.
You'd have to actually scan through your profile and see who. You'd have to read each one manually.
Yes.
Or you could write. Can you write a bot that would tell you all this stuff?
Yeah.
I don't know if they allow bots on there.
No, maybe not. But I was
suppose
like,
you could. I mean, it's technically. No.
Well, no, it's their platform.
I don't know what bots can do, but
no, they can like control a profile, but they don't control the platform. And yeah, so those are the things that I don't like is about Getter. And so yeah, I don't end up using it that much because of that, is because I don't know. Like when people interact with me on Twitter, then I can respond to them. I don't get that in Getter. I don't know who responds to me. I mean, I don't sit on any of my social media platforms. I'm not like, you know, well, Peter knows. Sometimes it'd be like a day or two before I get back to him. It's because I get busy in life. I'm doing stuff. I'm doing shit.
Yep.
And it's just, well, I mean, no different than you. You're out in the shop, fucking tearing apart a bush hog.
Yep. I just put new drive lines in my mower because, well, the part of the drive line that turns when the slip clutch slips is worn so badly that it's causing other issues now. Yeah. So we hope. So we'll have to figure out if that fixed it. Anyway, it needed to be done.
Yeah. You say mower like you're going to mow your front lawn with it.
No, yeah, let me see if I still got a picture. I just put up. No, this is.
I was like, wow, that's a big one.
All right. There we go. Yeah, this is when I say mower. This is what I mean.
Yeah, 3
mower.
blades.
15 feet wide. Takes a 100 horsepower tractor. We use it to mow cover crops, ditches, the grass on our driveway, that sort of thing. We have smaller ones for the yard.
You know, you don't see big shit like that in New Brunswick. Like the farm equipment out here is huge.
Yeah.
I like,
Yeah.
you don't like, there's nothing like that in New Brunswick. Like guys that have like these huge tractors, they always end up going back to their small or medium sized tractor because the
Mm-hmm.
fields, they just don't handle it. It's like you can't go out there with these great big and on top of that, these fields are not that big. Like you come out here to Saskatchewan, like the fields are going off into the horizon. It's like, you know, you see forever. And but in New Brunswick, it's just slopey hills, fields, and the fields are not that big. I mean, if you had a 5 acre field, that's a
Yeah.
big field.
In Saskatchewan, 160 acres is a
I
small field.
know, and I'm just like, these places are huge.
Well, 80 acres is a
Yeah.
small field. To some guys, a section, 640 acres is probably a small field. But no, for us, 160 acres is a standard size of a field. We've got a few 40-acre fields, and those are small to us. But yeah, no, 5-10 acre field is what Crow's
Oh yeah,
talking
no, they're
about.
not very
So.
big. Well, maybe 20 or 30 acres, but and they're
Mm-hmm.
all separated by forest lines. Yeah, so it's
Yep.
like you got this little patch, and then you'll have forest, and then another little patch, and then another one over here on the side. Man, I'm
With a hill and a creek and stuff between it, and
yeah,
yeah, hill on one side, creek on the other
I'm
side.
actually heading back to New Brunswick this week. Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm actually going to be like in New Brunswick, and I'm going to be like looking at all this, and it's going to be like, wow, this is different now. You
Okay.
know, and I grew up there, so it's going to be like,
How long since you've been back?
I think almost 3 years. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
I think it was almost
Yep.
3 years since I flew back for Sammy's wedding, my daughter's wedding, and that was like just a weekend. Me and Samson and a friend, we all hopped on a plane on a Friday afternoon. We landed in New Brunswick Saturday, rented a car, went to the wedding or the reception. They got married at the Justice of the Peace. They didn't see a point, but the reception was awesome. It was the reception that Sammy planned. It was like, no, the reception's going to be awesome. Who gives a fuck about the wedding? The ceremony is just to legalize it. And so they had the big party, and so that started in the afternoon. We landed, had a few hours to sit with friends. I think I remember sleeping somewheres.
Hmm.
So I don't know, but I do remember that we bailed early Sunday morning. Early Sunday morning. I think I might have actually took Friday off and flew out Thursday night. And Sunday morning, we were up for the reception from so the reception was like from 3 p.m. We were up, and the plane was taking off at like 4:30 a.m. or some fucking thing like that. And so, I mean, once you're up to like midnight, and I know what time the plane, I was like, what's the point? There's like no sense in doing anything else. So we just kept on. I couldn't drink, but I was drinking like energy drinks, so I was fucked that way. And so stopped smoking dope about maybe 3 hours before I knew we had to drive. And then we bailed, and we headed for the airport, dumped the car, got on a plane, flew back to Regina. And thank fuck for the time difference, because with all the time difference, I actually landed at 11 a.m. Sunday, or maybe 10 a.m. So yeah. So with the time difference, it was like only like 2 hours. Saskatchewan time had passed, but meanwhile, I think I traveled like for
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
and
How about
yeah,
that?
and that
Okay.
was good.
Well, let's see. Where's it? Yeah, we're about our two hour mark here, and that's I think that's we could go on forever, but I think our viewers, listeners, whatever you want to call them, they kind of get lost a little after about an hour and 45 minutes. So we're gonna shut it down, and guess if we're not harvesting next Saturday, I hope to be too busy to do this podcast for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But we will see what happens, and yep.
Okay.
All right. This has been Peter,
Crow,
and this has been P&K Q&A for August the 28th, 2021, Season 2, Episode 1. And thanks for watching. Peace out.
Salute.